Everybody hope you're doing okay. Now, the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, not only is this possibly the softest shoe out in the market, it's also perhaps the most expensive, £280 at retail, but did actually manage to get 15% off at sports shoes with the England Athletics discount, so it wasn't too bad. I was very unsure whether I was actually going to run in it, because out of the box it looked very wide, and it also felt a bit short, but fortunately, when I actually got it on my foot, it wasn't too bad. I think one of the problems with the shoe out of the box is that the tongue basically has no padding at all, which is quite good to keep the weight down. It's 255 grams on the left and 260 in my size UK 13, which is almost identical to the Vaporfly 3. So it certainly lost weight from the original edition, but this tongue, as I said, has got no padding at all. So out of the box, if I show you the picture before I actually pulled it in, it looks really wide, and I've actually basically had to pull this in so the one was touching. But it also did feel very, very slightly short. I think it's partly because at the top here, it's quite a rigid construction. It almost feels like a trail shoe with a sort of a toe bumper. Something that does reduce the effective length ever so slightly. But again, it wasn't too bad. And this material is very, very soft, just pushing that in. But having said that, because of this stiff plate, you don't really notice it quite as much. I think the back of it's not overly wide as some shoes go these days, especially in those max cushion shoes. So I felt with this lockdown and this sort of a narrow feel, I actually felt I was on a reasonably narrow platform and I wasn't really actually sort of like wobbling around too much, which is quite nice because it did feel quite soft, and you had to be a bit careful where you're running. And obviously Wisley Airfield is just like a dead straight airfield and a nice tarmac surface, admittedly long disused, but it did sort of feel to me that it's a shoe that wants you to run in a straight line. And I did do a little bit of like minor trail just to sort of get off the airfield. It wasn't too bad. I did though have an awful lot of puncture marks. I've got a load of little thorns here, yeah, just about to see on my little finger there, so I've been plucking those out. I think it was the material so soft, there's a bit there just sort of like wobbling off, and that was originally white, and after one run it is no longer that case. So yeah, in that sense, it's a shoe that has actually more interested me than I thought it was going to. The heel flare there is quite nice, and really nothing much to that at all. And there's just a nice enough padding in there. I quite like the fact there's not too much structure at the back here. Sometimes I feel like shoes have almost too much padding, and it irritates my Achilles, almost like digging into it. But it's certainly not the case here. And I was a bit worried the fact it was really high, but I think it just basically allows you to have the sort of foot locked in when it's sort of quite a minimal rear. It's certainly a shoe that's better out of the box when I first looked at it, and having had a nice run in it, I thought, yeah, it's definitely a shoe that I'm going to persevere with. I'm not entirely convinced that after a while you're going to start sort of like struggling a bit, because it felt like when I was actually fresh, it wasn't too bad and really going for it. When I was starting to sort of like tie towards the end, I did like a 10-minute effort at the end and around about sort of 10k to half marathon effort just to see how it felt. And it was okay for that, but I felt like I was just starting to wobble very, very slightly, and it wasn't perhaps bouncing me back off the road. I think the Adios Pro 4 is a shoe that's kind of similar to this, but with that one, it's not quite as soft, although that is very soft, but I felt like it just bounced me off the ground a bit better. But yeah, I think it's certainly an interesting shoe from Saucony, and definitely this incredibly run foam. A bit of our self-perpetuating name, isn't it, really? I mean, I think it is sort of incredible in terms of the fact it offers a slightly different dimension to all the other foams out there. And if you do like a really soft shoe and feeling that you are bouncing along, then yeah, certainly want to check out. But that price is really quite high, isn't it? So it doesn't really sort of motivate you to go and try it unless you really are a Saucony fan. And if you'd like the Elite 1, you're going to find this quite different, I think. The Elite 1 was almost sort of quite a relatively stiff shoe, whereas I think this one is sort of going sort of in a different direction. So yeah, if you're a fan of the Elite 1, not necessarily automatically think you're going to be a fan of the Elite 2. I was kind of okay with the Elite 1, but I never really warmed to it too much. I think this one might be a bit like the New Balance Elite 2, which I ended up being as like a long run cruiser. So I'm interested when I get a chance to actually do a long run in it and see if I can actually maintain the form. Maybe it's a bit like the Prime X, you just need to get a bit used to it. But I certainly feel you've got a lot of protection there, and it is a lightweight shoe for sure. And certainly if you want to get going, then it certainly does. Just a bit concerned that, you know, you'd have to be fit enough to actually get the maximum benefit from this shoe. But it says it is an elite shoe, so yeah, that's to take that word for it, don't you, really? The outsole, I thought actually it was actually really quite sticky. When I was actually going out Wisley Airfield, I could sort of like hear almost like the stickiness of it as I was running along the ground. But obviously when you're running a straight line on the tarmac airfield with nothing in the way, you haven't really got too much concern about traction, and it was perfectly bone dry today. And yeah, I think it's just basically just enough rubber at the back here, and yeah, just have to be worried about thorns getting to this stuff because it is so soft. It's really going to pick up all sorts, and maybe there's a bit of a concern about picking up a few little stones along the way, but I think all the shoes like this are like that, aren't they, now, just to save a bit of extra weight. So yeah, promising first run in the Endorphin Elite 2. Well, I say first run. I did one run, then I did another mile, and then I did the ultimate test of walking around Sainsburys with a Tesco's bag. So I'll go and show you how I got on there in the field, as it were. So I hope you've found this interesting. Like and subscribe with that, and see you on the next one. And please put some comments down below if you want to talk about the shoes. I've got some other shoes: Evo SL, Nova Blast 5, Adios 9, Adios Pro 4. I haven't really done much of a sort of proper review of, so I thought I might do a video where I sort of just summarise all them. Will that be of interest? Hopefully it will be. Let's just do a few strides along Wisley Airfield before they convert it into houses.
You've seen pictures of it out of the box. The width of it looks a lot wider. I've had to pull these in a lot, but actually the lockdown isn't too bad now. It does feel very, very slightly short, but not too bad. But yeah, just a strange feeling that there's a lot of bounce here, but not sure entirely much propulsion. Maybe we'll just try a extended stride, see what sort of time I do.
Well, it wasn't too bad, 39.40 for those 200s. Didn't feel like I was really flying along, but a lot of bounce to them. Maybe don't feel like there's really much sort of help there, but just very bouncy. Not quite as squishy though as I thought as maybe like the Adios Pro 4. So I think they are squishier, but not in a silly way, not like the Invincible, because at least got that plate underneath. Does stabilise it to somewhat, and I think I've also got them quite a narrow fit now with that lockdown, having to pull them in a lot. Then it's not sort of like a wide base like some of these Ultramax cushion shoes tend to be. So yeah, not a bad first run. I need to do far more testing, and we're going to check out the rest of Wisley Airfield. Okay, I've had to come to Sainsburys, even with my Tesco's bag, to do the ultimate test of the Endorphin Elite 2. Sometimes things are bigger than running, aren't they? You need to actually go and get some beers for Sue, who no doubt will be disappointed if I come home empty-handed. Anyway, so yeah, just skim around the aisles. Nice and bouncy, I must say, walking around the aisles in the in Elites. So yeah, that's tick in the box, I must say. See how the corner, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I'm not usually in this section, vegetables and all that sort of stuff. Need to get some coffees as well, so yeah, I head to that way, I think.
These will do. Add some mine.